This episode is brought to you by Tigre Burrito. If you haven't tried them out, then you're missing out. Their hours of operations are from Tuesday through Saturday, 7 a.m. to 2 p.m. They specialize in breakfast burritos and lunch specials. If you like that pica pica, try that hot sauce and let them know that it's the JP Lopez Show sent you. They can be located at 720 Highway 62 in Wolford, Texas. It's the small yellow building with the Tigre tiger on it.
Are you ready? You ready? Let's get it on! It's the JP Lopez Show.
Are we on already?
Yeah, we're rolling.
Oh shit, hey.
Fuck yeah. So, if you're new to this, I set this podcast up like kind of like a late night talk show.
Fuck yeah. No,
So,
yeah, I get the format.
So we shoot the shit and then I introduce you and then
Okay, hell yeah.
and then however I edit it.
And there's the camera.
Yeah.
Fuck yeah.
So I was gonna set up. I have new cameras for today,
Okay, hell yeah.
and on the way here, I fucking forgot the batteries.
Hey, that happens.
So,
That's,
yeah.
I mean,
So
but
yeah,
the phones
phone
work
it is.
They
Yeah.
work fine. Yeah. But yeah, there's the camera.
No, this is just that I take behind the scenes photos
Okay, hell yeah.
and I post them later on in the week
Okay, hell
to
yeah.
promote the episode still.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, dude. I put a lot of heart and soul
Dude,
into this
yeah.
shit.
No, yeah. That's what I try to do with when I record the stand up that I do or whatever.
Yeah.
Like it started slow. It was like old shitty camera and then like got better.
I saw that
and
on your-
better,
on
and
your
then now
YouTube.
it's I haven't even put the newest one up. The clips that I'm trying to put up or whatever is way better now.
When you do
It's-
your stand up on YouTube, right?
Yeah.
Is it hard to use the audio? Because
No.
at times it would sound muffled.
At first, and the videos, a lot of videos up there was like an old GoPro and then a better GoPro, but still the audio is shit and the audio is far. Now I'm using a camera with a fucking, one of them rabbit's foot mic
Yeah.
fucking
Oh,
thing.
okay.
Yeah, so like it
the
picks.
boom mic.
Yeah, I mean it's small, but it's like
Yeah.
for one of them or whatever, and it works. It works way better, and the audio is way clearer. But previously, even with that, some of the longer pieces that I put together with the newer GoPro, I did like this fucking mix of this H4n audio thing that I used to have with these little mics like this,
Oh, yeah,
like
yeah.
a really old school one
Yeah.
that I got used in LA years ago or whatever, and I would layer that into Final Cut and try to fucking like make that shit work. And then if I had to layer it, because I'll record on the phone too. If the phone sounded better or got some audience,
You
I'd
just
layer
use
that
that.
in there too.
Fuck.
So I would, and I did all that, and then these a couple comics I know from Florida who are more semi-pro. They feature for, the big guys or whatever.
yeah.
And they were like, "Hey, that material's really good, but your fucking audio sucks. Get better shit, you stupid fuck." Like,
All
and
right,
like,
fuck you.
yeah. So, it's that, but I was like, okay, I definitely, even when I edited the fuck out of it,
Mm-hmm.
put in layers of audio, still it just wasn't up to par. But the new, actual fucking camera,
Yeah.
with that fucking boom mic sort of thing, picks it up like you don't have to do shit. And it's
Nice.
way better. It's probably still not totally professional quality, but far beyond what I was
Yeah.
doing,
Yeah.
both video and audio. So hopefully it works.
No, it's okay. It's okay. Did you go to the live show?
Which one? Yours?
Mine?
Yeah.
Okay, because
It was badass.
Okay.
Fucking Haro killed it. Fucking Tanner did great too, and fucking and Rafa, of course. Fucking like yeah. They should-
so I was so pissed because it was so hot in there.
yeah,
man.
that's the one thing. Because I mean, when I guess we first started doing shows, or when I first started going to their shows that they had
Yeah.
there, it was not yet summer, so I didn't notice that aspect
Yeah.
of it. But it was so
It was
fucking hot.
How was the turnout last week?
Good, not as good as yours,
Oh.
but still good.
Okay.
But yeah, you had it fucking packed. I've never seen it that packed.
Really?
Yeah. So fucking, it was
She did
good.
not believe I was gonna have over 100 people there.
Yeah, I bet because
And
she's probably used to people saying
It
that
kind of
and not
pissed me
delivering.
off too, though.
But I mean, she probably gets so many people where 10 people show up and we're gonna have 100 people here, and it's like, but yeah, I get it.
Maybe I didn't
get
even
it.
think of it that way.
Yeah,
But
'cause they get-
to me, it seemed like she was like, "Fuck off." Like,
Oh
you're
really?
not gonna have
Oh yeah, I
100
don't even
people.
know them. But I mean, I've met them, but like. Angel and Rafa were. This is their first time, and they did better. At first, I was like, "Oh shit," because
Yeah.
there was no one there at first. But then it got built and built and built, and then there was a good amount of people.
Nice.
Like, but when you did it, it was like fuck, there's a lot of people here, and it's an hour till the show. And then, like, when the show starts, like, fuck, there's a shitload of people. This is awesome. And it shows with the comics, too. Because, like, Haru had never done a set in front of that many people before.
Yeah, and
he's
that's what
only
he
been
told
doing,
me.
yeah, he's only been doing mics and, like, assembling material. Like, you should build and build and build. And
Yeah.
when you get the chance to do a bigger set, and he recorded it, I was like, you fucking send that set to clubs. Because you'll get in that shit, you know?
Oh,
Because it was
shit.
good as fuck. Like, and,
Yeah.
and like, that's the kind of shit. And
So
Rafa
you
is
do
always
your own
doing.
promotion.
Basically,
Like you as a comedian.
Yeah, I mean, I can't even do that shit. My type of material that I do is so fucked up that like all the comedy clubs in the country would be like, "Fuck you, get out!" Like it's like they don't want anything to do with that shit.
Dude, I'll tell you what. So, ladies and gentlemen, let me introduce you, Mr. Chris Heist.
How's it
Thank you
going?
for coming, man.
Thank you for having me.
We've been wanting to have you for a while.
I appreciate
but
it.
your intro for Roy's live show,
Yeah.
you ruffled some feathers, and I
Yeah.
loved it, man. It was.
that's what I do.
I was just looking at the reaction of the crowd, and I know that's what you were going for.
Yeah,
And
that's
you
kind of what I
fucking-
do. I mean, I just do
You
what I do,
succeeded.
and people. But that's the thing. I'm not like actually trying to ruffle feathers or anything.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to do like these. I have all these crazy ideas, and I just like to throw them at crowds and see what I can get to work. And then it's kind of like the refinement process of like writing material. Whatever works, I'll then later assemble
When
the
you
things that
went
work
into
together.
the whole Pope thing,
Yeah, oh yeah. And that's an old bit. Like, well, part of it was a new bit because it was about the fucking new Pope
The
or
new
whatever.
Pope, yeah.
But part of it was an old bit about the fucking Sistine Chapel shit. That was like, but it's a very cryptic joke that I wrote in like 2017 or whatever. It was
Yeah.
just like, but yeah, it applies. It's just a complicated joke about wealth inequality and religion and
it.
organized power and stuff.
loved
And
it,
it was.
man.
Yeah, and fucking Ferraris. Yeah, you know, like that kind of shit. Like, I appreciate it.
I'm a fan of comedy, and
Hell yeah.
I can legit tell you that I grew up as a kid, like coming up watching like Bill Cosby, Sinbad, John Leguizamo, Dom Herrera. Everybody that
Yeah.
had like what was it? Back then it was like 20 minutes on HBO.
Yeah, they do.
If
Yeah,
that.
I mean, they would call it 30, but it was like, 20, 25.
And
yeah.
I would watch all of them. And
Yeah.
then, of course, Def Comedy Jam came through. I would sneak to watch that because I couldn't watch it. And then that's when, like,
that
the comedic
was some really good shit.
sketch
Sometimes
shows came into play.
Yeah,
like
yeah.
The Living Color and all that shit.
Yeah, Kids in the Hall, and
Yeah.
then of course later generations of stuff. But like, those initial ones were like, in Living Color and Kids in the Hall were big when I was a teenager or whatever.
Yeah.
Like, I was fucking obsessed with that shit, and like.
So, where can people find you, bro?
Oh, I got a YouTube channel. I mean, I'm on Instagram, just Chris_Heist, Heist. And then, on YouTube, I guess if you just search Chris Heist and then stand up, you'll find the channel and then just click on the channel. And I mean, if you like fucked up, strange stand up, because like a lot of, even the ones we were just talking about, like in the 80s or whatever, it's like, I mean, you know, Carlin was doing some fucked up shit, but he was also doing a lot of like goofy shit too, to keep middle America happy while he was trashing whatever he was trashing, you know? And like, I'm just doing trashing shit, and people, sometimes people like it and sometimes people hate it.
So, do you have diehard fans?
Some, but only handfuls at this point.
But what I'm saying, when I bring that up, what I'm saying is, Carlin had a lot of people hate him towards the end of his career when he changed up his shit.
Yeah, that's my favorite shit.
Okay, so you being you,
Yeah.
you think your fans would be like, "What the fuck, dude?" Like if you ever were to change your shit up.
I mean, if it's all relative to how you change the material. Like if you push further, or if you become like bubblegum pop or something.
Yeah.
If I'm only doing like, you know, if I wear a suit and tie and fucking like
When
start
you make
doing
the
like,
money and
hey,
be a
shopping
yes
at malls is
sir.
cool
Yeah.
or whatever. Like it's
Yeah.
like, then it's like, you can tell sellout shit. But like if you just keep, that's what Carlin kept doing, is getting more fucked up and more deeper, more crazy, and that was put a lot of people off. But a lot of people were like, this is fucking insanely good. But especially like, I mean, you could argue like, you know, when he got really old, the last one or two, he had been whatever, he's really old and had been experienced some health shit.
Yeah.
But like before those, the 2 or 3 specials before that are like hands down greatest of all time, most, you know, again, most philosophically out there, but to me and to a lot of stand-up fans, like when you get really deep with that shit, when you get really core to, you know, the political structure, the religious structure, the fucking economic structure, all that shit.
And you start pushing buttons.
Yeah. You don't mean to, but he was just, this is the way the world is as I see it kind of thing. And just fucking, it's just, insanely complex, but it also, a lot of people aren't interested in that shit.
No.
But like in the history of comedy, and it even goes back, there's fucking shit I didn't even know about, but like philosophers wrote about this shit for hundreds of years or whatever, about like what makes something funny. And like a lot of it is how, you know, the fucking, I mean, of course, irony in the world or whatever, but like also just fucked up aspects of human nature and reality that we kind of have to gloss over, or else we'd go insane, or just fucking lose our shit and not be able to do anything else because we'd just be in the fetal position all day, you know. But like the really fucked up aspects of every society, and it's hard for people to go there. So a lot of people would be like, okay, especially Carlin's later shit, they were like, okay, you know.
So this, what you just explained and described to me, is that something? Is that like the blueprint for what you stated on Morgan's podcast when you were like, motherfucker, people are mad at my style, but you said something like, if you go back, my style is the original style of comedy.
Oh yeah, I don't remember how I
can't remember how you
something
worded
like that. Yeah, but yeah, the original. I mean, you know, there was vaudeville and like, you know, guys that would do one-liner kind of things with instruments and stuff like that. But at a certain point, the originals of people who would get up on a stage and just like talk to the crowd as if they were like having a conversation with someone is Mort Saul, and then eventually after that Lenny Bruce. But like, and Lenny Bruce is famous for that because he was all cussing and shit. Yeah. And he was brilliant. He's one of the greatest of all time. But like Mort Saul is also one of the greatest of all time. But he was too heady. He was too intellectual about shit. But he was very subversive. And I don't know if I said that on
like it
on
went
Morgan's
over a lot
podcast.
of people's heads.
Yeah. But like, he got promoted by other hugely famous comics at the time, like Milton Berle, who was just like a one-liner guy, just like a guy. Milton Berle's like some old guy you would have seen. He's actually in the fucking "We're Not Gonna Take a Music" video, I think. Like,
I didn't know he was a comedian.
He was like a more of a host or show presenter,
Thought
But
was
he
like a
also
showman.
he also did jokes, like in a one-liner format. You know, if you were to host the Oscars or something, you would do jokes like, but it's better when Chris Rock does it or something. You know, but
it was like some scripted shit.
But but he, because he was famous even in the 1950s, made Lenny Bruce and Mort Saul famous and got them on shows and got them to host shit and got them, because he was like, this is a new thing. And even, you know, other people who came later, like all the great, you'd say Carlin and Pryor. I mean, not only were they huge fans of what Mort Saul and Lenny Bruce were doing, but like Mort Saul and Lenny Bruce literally got Pryor and Carlin some of their first work. Like some of their first, like, they signed Carlin to some thing, like record label deal with his partner at the time. And you know, Carlin, people say Carlin used to be this cornball shit that then became political, but he actually started out very, very socially, like, whatever, just ripping on shit, and then went more commercial, and then went back to the stuff. But Lenny Bruce and Mort Saul helped him out early, because him and his partner Jack Burns or whatever would do like shit. You know, they're making fun of the KKK and shit like that in like the 50s. Oh wow! And so Mort Saul and Lenny Bruce were like, "This is fucking great. Fucking put that shit, you know, out and get them spots at clubs and stuff like that." And so it was a different kind of thing, you know, at that time. But he eventually went very straight and narrow, but always had some subversive shit to him.
Isn't it kind of crazy though to think that a Carlin stand-up and a Pryor stand-up still hold water to this day?
Because that's how good it was.
That's insane.
Yeah, how real, and that's, I would say, is testament to what I was saying before. If you write shit that is about the human condition, like deep, fucked up aspects of reality, it's timeless. Like, because those things, you know, war is sadly probably always going to be there to some extent. You know, people being killed is probably always going to be there. You know, fucked up, being intoxicated. You know, Carlin and Pryor did bits about like being intoxicated. You know, like all this sorts of organized crime shit, fucking the political structure, all that shit. Like how the society sucks.
You know,
and
I never thought of that.
Most people don't.
I never thought of it. I just thought they were geniuses because it still holds water. But
that's part of it. That's part of it, though, is they were geniuses because most comics cannot. First of all, most people don't know enough about that subject to go to write really good jokes about it or really good material about it. But then, even if you do know to be able to write really good
You
jokes,
just
and
blew my fucking mind, man.
well, thanks, man.
Yeah.
But I mean, and that's what I try to do. I'm nowhere near as fucking like them, but like I've been trying to do and been, I just released these DIY albums that I do and these now DIY stand-up specials all on my YouTube channel for free, and like, and so there's tons of shit. But it's, it's pretty esoteric shit. Some people would like it. I do a bit about fucking, a lot of people don't, but there's a conspiracy hypothesis that Woody Harrelson's dad killed JFK.
Oh, wow.
And there's a whole thing. And I did this thing, like, because he was an actual hitman.
Yeah.
Who went to prison for being a hitman in Texas. And Woody Harrelson's like, you used to go visit him and stuff like that. But
the cowboy way, Woody Harrelson.
Yeah, the actor, the famous actor. Yeah. His dad. So like, that
White
was one
man
of the
can't jump, Woody
the
Harrelson.
funniest part about Natural Born Killers is his dad was really a psychopath that killed people for money and got away with it for a long time. It was in with the government, then went out with the government, and then finally he killed a Texas judge because somebody paid him thousands of dollars to, and he went away. And when he was fucking being the cops came to arrest him, there was a firefight between him shooting at the cops and the cops shooting back. And when he thought he was going to go out, he supposedly, like, the cops had it on record or whatever, that he yelled, because he thought he was going to be shot by the cops. He yelled, "I'm the guy who fucking blew Kennedy's head off," or whatever. Like, I'm the guy who did the fucking shot. And then they arrested him. It didn't end up killing him. And afterwards he was like, "I was just joking. I was saying shit," that kind of thing. And like, so I do a bit about that aspect and a whole bunch of other shit, the judicial system and all this stuff. But it's way too complicated. Most people are like, dude, boring, but like, that's okay. That's just part of it, even Mortzall still, like, yeah, nobody, people would, even he made jokes and people would pretend to laugh at his shit in the 50s because they're like, you don't know what he would say. You don't know what the fuck I'm talking about. Like, but Milton Berle's like going like this in the crowd, or kind of like,
the applause,
kind of like shit or whatever. Like, and there's an effect that writers about comedy used to write about is an effect that'll happen oftentimes is like,
hey Chris, if you want to switch the headphones so that the wire hangs
it's all
on
right,
the
it's
other
all
side.
right.
Okay.
Okay, yeah, thank you though. But yeah, there was a thing where like they would do when they study stand up and like how shit works. One of the things that people will do is laugh nervously if they see other people laughing, because they're like, I don't want to look like a dumbass who didn't get it. So if I see people laughing and that went over my head, I'll still laugh.
And then you'll be a target.
Or do you just want to just not be outed as someone who missed the joke. So he would, and Mortzall even referred to that occasionally, like you guys are, you're laughing because you don't want to look like you don't know what I'm saying, kind of thing.
Yeah,
but yeah, it's.
I get it, but also
it's sometimes it's too encyclopedia shit, And even me, I'm listening to but it's the 50s, it's dated, So it's like I don't know what the fuck he's talking about sometimes, but yeah, it is. But legendary shit, when all the greats, like literally, you line up all the greats and they go, "Who was your biggest influence?" They're like Mortzall, It's like okay, fucking yeah.
So let me ask you this: what's your thoughts or theories about crowd work?
I mean, I love it, but I try to do it in my own way or whatever, fucking in a strange, fucked up way, And I learned from some of the greats. I mean, literally, my favorite crowd work guy coming up was like Dice, and nobody, rarely have they listened to The Day the Laughter Died, but that's one of my favorite albums. I remember touring with the band, like we were in a metal band, and we were just traveling the country, and the drummer had that album, and this was like in '98 or something. It came out in 1990, but Rick Rubin produced it. They just went into a small, so many comics have talked about it on there already, but it went into a small room, Dangerfield's Club in New York, and just on off nights with like 20 people in the crowd. No, didn't tell anybody Dice was going to be there.
And that whole album was that night?
Was just, I think they mixed multiple nights, but the whole album was just him walking in front of 15 or 20 people, some of whom never even heard of him. They were just there for whatever the comics were. And some people had heard of him, but they're like, what the fuck is he doing here? He does stadiums. Why is he doing a room full of 20 people at 1 a.m.? But Rubin wanted to get that. So he's just doing crowd work the whole time.
Wow.
And it's insane. And
I didn't even know about
most
that
people
album.
don't. Yeah, because it was known, it was a very, for somebody who's known as just like a one-linery, just sex joke
Just a
comic.
zip.
Yeah, he did some of the best stand-up of all time, and is recognized as by other comics. But once I heard that in 90, I was like, this is insane, and I understand. you get like it just because at that point I'm the guy yelling in the metal band, so I'm having to deal with crowds, and I had been doing that for years at that point. So I'm like, I could tell, I was doing a lot of acid, and I was like, I could sort of get what he was doing in certain ways.
Yeah.
Because I would, on a very low level. So I learned a lot by listening to that shit, and then fucking, and you go, and I was after that, years later, I was in another band for a long time, yelling shit. And then, but later, you learn from other people and stuff. But yeah, and fucking one of the greats, the people in L.A. who aren't like, whatever, ubiquitous, they're not TV, whatever, but they're the closers at the Comedy Store. They were the best. Holtzman, fucking Brian Holtzman is in Austin now, I think, but he's fucking great. Don Barris is in the fucking original room at the Comedy Store in L.A.
Oh, wow.
And fucking Brody Stevens was at the fucking main room also, who he passed away, but he was another great crowd work comic. I used to watch these guys when I lived in L.A. for 2.5 years before the pandemic. It was like I was watching these guys every night, learning from them because they were the ones who were allowed to do really long sets too. So like, every comic was doing 15 minutes, and then there's the closing guy who's supposed to fuck shit up so bad and fuck it up, so make it so raw and so fucking crazy that people are like, all right, let's get the check and get the fuck out of here.
Yeah, to ruffle the feathers and
totally.
Yeah.
And like, and they were very open too, because the comedy was so cool like that, especially before the pandemic. Like I would hang out, afterwards they would talk to the comics and stuff and chill, and like, so I learned, and Don knew Paul Mooney, Paul Mooney is Richard Pryor's best friend, and wrote a bunch of shit too. It was great, one of the greats.
Didn't he write a bunch of his shit?
He wrote, like, I think they wrote the shows together. I think Richard Pryor wrote his stand-up, but Paul Mooney was also one of the greatest stand-ups of all time.
Yeah,
and
I like Paul
his
Mooney.
specials are on YouTube, and they're fucking incredible and very raw, shitting
as
on
fuck.
society,
Yeah.
like just not holding back at all. And that's the kind of shit I love. So the fact that I'm learning from this guy who learned from him, and fucking like it was amazing, and so many stories about him, and like all this stuff. So yeah. I watched these guys. They had totally different styles. The three of them, Holtzman, Don Barris, and fucking Brody.
Yeah.
And they were all do these very different styles of closing. A lot of crowd work, but very different. But kind of, especially Don, kind of in the vein of how I used to tell him, like in how Dice did it on that album.
Yeah, I wanted to ask you that because I didn't know if like you were a purist and you're like, oh, I fucking hate it.
I get why people do, because they see like whatever Matt Rife doing stand or crowd work or whatever. Some of the newer guys
to kill time.
Yeah, and the classic. There's even videos that make fun of that shit now. Where they're like, "What do you do for a living? Accounting? Oh, really? Hey, here's my accounting bit. That kind of. And it's just like a segue. It's just like a forced segue.
Yeah.
So it's not like actual, but like, and I get there's even some great comics that do crowd work, but they do it in a very straightforward way.
Yeah.
What I like to do is a fucked up way, and I've been doing it for a long time. Like even on some of the older albums, it's for me. I like to, because you get used to the people who come to the shows. I don't know them, but I know them a little bit just from they've been there before. So I've talked to them maybe for 5 minutes afterwards, and so I know a little bit about them, so I can go deeper. Already, I know shit about some if they've come back before, stuff like that. I know. Yeah, a lot of them, because we're talking about 15 people, 20 people rooms.
Yeah.
And like, if I know, like, it's deeper shit, I can go deeper into fucking, or just seeing scenarios. I'm still playing it. I'm trying to play it in a bit. Like, again, one of the greats, fucking Patrice, would do that, like, again, seamlessly. And as far as any, even all comics are like, perfectly. Between you don't know when the crowd work stopped and the bit began, like it's all totally mixed in
and
flawlessly, and it's just like that's the ideal that you go for.
Patrice was a fucking great,
and you can make things happen, and like that's what Patrice used to do regularly, and on his stuff, especially Mr. P or whatever.
My all-time favorite bit of his was Sexual Harassment Tuesdays.
I forget it.
So he was saying that it was the Tuesday before Thanksgiving.
Okay.
So if you've got a crush that does she want to fuck me? I don't know. That's when the day you go and present her, like, I just wondered if you wanted to suck my dick in the broom closet.
Yes.
And he's all, my bad, I got the wrong idea. Keep the flowers.
Yeah. But he's like, and the album, which is less known than the special, but it has a lot of like amazing crowd. Now again, just like the Dice one, they recorded probably many things and
just
put it
mix
together.
them all
But that's the way to do it.
Yeah.
That's why. And I mean, people won't even let me do like 30-minute. It's rare that I get a 30-minute, let alone an hour. You know, it's mostly 5 or 10 minutes everywhere.
You think you can go an hour?
Oh, I've done it. Like, but rarely. I have to configure it myself at a dive bar and be like, I'm going to do an hour, and hopefully I can get 10 people to show up, or 20. One time, 40 people showed up. But like, it's rare. This is over the past 10 years or whatever, you know. But like, it's very rare to do. But that's when you need. That's what you need to really try. But then, yeah, you need to tape multiple things. So basically, I just tape it on the fly and put together this stuff to where I feel that it worked in that sense, and you can get the elements of the crowd work without it being this very hacky, very obvious intro and outro of crowd work that people do.
Yeah.
And it's a very superficial layer where I try to go like way deeper and, yeah, if necessary, destroy everything that they believe. And that's part of the fun and part of the fucking whatever message of like, can I get them to, you know, be a part of the bit kind of thing. Like how Patrice used to do it and how Dice used to do it in that album, The Day the Laughter Died, is just unbelievable. But it really, in order to really get like a lot of that wall tape, you got to have a place that's like, yeah, you can go up and just do an hour like fucking multiple times this week. Yeah. You know, and it's just like not always
and then
available.
you can pick and choose out of all these.
If you record it, yeah, because even I'm sure Chappelle, Louis, all these guys, like I'm sure I've read in interviews they talk. I mean, in the past at least, doing 4 shows or 6 shows.
Yeah.
Each an hour and a half, and then they edit those down to 1 hour.
Yeah.
And it's like, you know.
Yeah, you hear that all the time on podcasts.
And that's totally understandable. And there are purists who are very much like, no, I go up and I do 1 hour, and I love those guys, and that's cool, but the special comes out not as good. If they had done, you know, it's like Pink Floyd could have recorded Dark Side of the Moon just, all right, guys, 1 take. Huh! And it would probably still be great. But when you can go over and layer guitar solos, it's going to be so much better.
Yeah.
And it was so much better because you can watch the footage of David Gilmour playing solos over fucking shit now, you know, on YouTube.
You mentioned acid.
Mm-hmm.
You are speaking to a guy who never tried any drugs in my life.
Hell yeah.
But not because, well, number one, I didn't want to piss my dad off and disappoint him.
Right.
Okay.
I was already there, so I didn't.
So that being said, but also I was so afraid of not coming back down.
Yeah, that's one of the things. Actually, that's one of the perceptions you probably feel on your first or second trip. Is at a certain point you're like, it's just going to be like this now, you know. Like, but it's just one of those things. The thought comes and goes, and then you're sober an hour later. And you're like, oh, I was wrong about that.
So I bring that up because
I get it though.
Because is it true that it does something to unlock your creativity?
I mean, that's all. That whole thing, I don't know, because it wasn't just, you know, it's not just like one thing, and then it was like, oh, it's different now. You know, it was like I've been smoking pot and drinking for a long time before I did acid, and then I'd been drinking a long time, and then I'd been smoking pot for a few years, and then I did acid for a few years, and yeah, the more I did it, the more I learned about it. But instantly, the first time I did it, I was like, this is interesting. I didn't use it. Oh, I'm using this for creativity. I was just. You think better. You think differently.
Yeah, that's.
So,
I guess that's what I'm trying to say.
But I would think about philosophy. I would think about science, and then I would think about I would also like try to write guitar riffs.
But it would turn the volume up on those thoughts and theories, or no?
It would do something. It would put a spin on them. Put like a strange twist on things.
Yeah.
Just like the visuals that you would see. You know, it's like one of those things which is something, you know, you see stuff like if we were tripping, like the whole room would kind of just
melt and shit.
Not melt necessarily, but I mean, if you were doing enough.
Yeah.
But like, just if you did a regular amount, you'd see it slightly shift, and there'd be, you know, there glows around the eyes or the lights and stuff, and eyes, and like you'd see fucking like every little. If you stared at the fucking wall or stared at the fucking air conditioner or this thing, you'd be like, whoa. You know, the joke from Aldous Huxley's book and all this stuff from decades and decades ago, it was, you know, everything is significant. You things that we think are not as significant at all, like the floor, the rug, you know, it's a chair. But when you're tripping balls and you look at that chair, you're like everything about the chair seems like infinitely significant.
That's crazy.
And you're like, but you get to see it from new angles and shit.
You're a kid and you're at school staring at those blurry ass static photos that supposedly like a horse should appear or some shit.
Right. Sort of. But it's the thing itself, and it's conceptually too. So you'll start thinking about. Why is that? You know, whatever. I mean, again, I was a sort of nerd, so I was like, I was fucking nerding out on science shit, you know, and like trying to figure shit out and trying to figure out philosophy shit and, you know, whatever, society shit, economics, fucking
Well, I bring
political
that up
structures.
because I think Steve Jobs was quoted like everyone should try LSD at least once to
Yeah, I'm
spark
sure.
their creativity.
He
and I was
famously
like, "Fuck,
did it.
is that true?" Like,
I mean, but again, he said it in such a, you know, a business guy author. Here, buy my book. You know,
Yeah.
he didn't do that. But like, what I mean is the way. But maybe he said that because he knew who he was talking to.
Maybe.
if he knew if he sounded too fucking hippie about it, that the business jerks would be like, we're not gonna fucking do that, you hippie.
Yeah.
But if he sounded like, oh, this will be good for innovation at our company if we trip acid, then yeah, fucking let's do it. So he knew how to get to his crowd, because it would help that kind of like the business-minded person. It helps them realize there's more to the world than that.
it's
And-
just so insane. Like the story of him legit scares the fuck out of me, man. Because corporate America is the biggest gangsters in the world.
Yeah.
And like he founded and created and invented fucking Apple,
Mm-hmm.
and then it was like, boom, get the fuck out of here.
Yeah,
Thank you.
And then they
and
begged
then
him to come back
he
later.
somehow
Yeah.
buys a company that
Yeah.
like, gets let back in, and he's back. But
Right.
still, man, like
Yeah.
that's your baby, and then it's like, all right, thank
Yeah,
you,
yeah.
fuck you.
There's it's just the douchey bureaucrats, like whether government bureaucrats or corporate bureaucrats. There's whole like studies of this in sociological literature, political science literature about like, so they studied like why do bureaucracies and the people who work in them suck dick, and like they go into, okay, this is why they're fucking dicks here because of these pressures and these incentives, and they're dicks and at this level, you know.
It's money.
Yeah, it's part money and power because they want control over organization departments, and they want more money. They want to rise through the ranks.
Yeah.
And there's all these dynamics that come into like why they do the douchey things they do. But yeah, it sucks. And then real innovators or whatever that come along and actually, yeah, they'll get pushed out, like literally the engine of all the money that comes into that company, and they're like, yeah, we don't like you anymore, out.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, what are you fucking dumb? Like, it's what they are.
Like, was it Tesla? Mm-hmm. What, free electricity? Get the fuck out of here.
Yeah, exactly.
Kill him.
Exactly. That whole thing too, like where it's like he was too nice. I mean, you know, much less of a ruthless business jerk than Edison,
Yeah.
and so Edison pissed all over him. Like, and you know, I'm sure other people too. It was very difficult, and that's a theory of social theory that people have. That, you know, people, you know, if you're too meek. Yeah, your discoveries will be stolen by other people. You'll be kicked to the curb. You'll be fucking, you know, die in poverty. You'll fucking, all that shit. You gotta fucking stand up for your, you know, your shit, or else you're just gonna be fucking, yeah, another exploited worker. Just you're the mind who came up with the shit. But yeah, I mean, corporate America's history is full of just stealing people's ideas.
Oh, yeah.
Somebody should do, yeah, because there's all this, you know, comics that do that shit, and we trash them. But like, even in corporate America, there's that. Yeah, probably less prevalent now, but still a thing. But it's because now people are checking more. But like, it's one of those things where, yeah, they need to do more acid. They would be less business jerks if they did more acid. But I wouldn't say it's for creativity. That may be a secondary benefit, but it's for be a better person, be a fucking more enlightened person, and then
Well, you
the
hit it right
creativity
on the
will
head.
come from that.
Yeah. You hit it right on the head. It's like, be a better person. For the life of me, would sit here and I could not think of that type of money. Would obviously they call it filthy rich for a fucking reason.
Yeah.
Like, you got to do some filthy shit to
Right.
be there, right? But that type of
Sometimes.
money, right?
Right.
Why is it not enough?
Right, and that's the thing. That's the other thing too. Sometimes you don't got to do filthy shit to get, you know, like you can argue later what Jobs did with, you know, fucking having whatever, exploiting Chinese labor or whatever.
Yeah.
But like, just inventing the thing or discovering the thing or designing a thing, that's better than. But a lot of people, because it's easy, it's like low hanging fruit. It's like writing jokes. Even there's analogies to all things. You can write a shitty song that does really well. You know, and maybe whatever, sell it to Britney Spears or whatever,
Yeah.
and it makes millions of dollars, and you're the writer, you get a fucking Emmy too, or whatever, the fucking a Grammy, yeah.
Yeah.
So it's like, but you could also write a much better song. Maybe it wouldn't do as well, but it would go down in history. Whereas the pop crap that made money in the moment is worth nothing, you know, 10 years later or 100 years later.
But
or
what's better?
right, exactly.
The
It's-
limelight or
right,
Yeah.
and what's the limelight better if people you respect your work, or people you don't respect at all, just dumb fucking ordinary folks who are like, I really like that dance song, like, it's like, who gives a fuck? They don't. Oh, okay, you really like that? What's it called? I don't know. I just kind of like it when it comes on sometimes at a wedding. They have no depth to their fucking love, so they don't really love it. It's just like there's a lot of comedians who do clubs, and like they're killing the whole time. Afterwards, you ask the people who, oh, I don't remember anything. I laughed the whole time. I don't remember anything about it. I don't remember their name. I don't care. I'm not going to follow their shit. I'm not going to, it was just it was an empty experience for them. It was all about just that moment. They didn't care it's like if the band, you go see Pink Floyd in 1973 or whatever, and like, it's a life-changing experience, especially if you're on acid. But like, if you go and fucking watched some fucking barbershop quartet or whatever the fuck, cornball shit, people were like,
and they memorized
and maybe even the people of the day were like, this is great.
Yeah.
But like afterwards they're like, I'm not going and buying that album. I had fun with my family at the fucking douchey cornball shit, but like, I'm not gonna, it's not a thing, a legendary thing, whereas the Floyd thing, and there was a lot of shit, I'm sure, that sold more records than Floyd at the time, although they sold still plenty, but it's like, they'll always, but it's how you want to go down. Do you want to fucking do some shit that's interesting, or do you want to do some shit that just makes a short-term profit and you get in and out, and it's all about the money, and you couldn't give less of a fuck about what the thing is that you made, kind of thing?
So if you're not familiar with the show, man, I kind of dipped my toe into a bunch of nostalgic topics.
Hell yeah.
So that being said, like, where are you from?
Originally South Florida.
Okay.
And then went to college in North Florida, did a bunch of yelling in metal bands and hardcore bands, and then started doing stand-up there, and then moved to LA to do stand-up, and then bounced around and ended up here. But Florida's where I'm from originally.
The wife wants to drop everything, quit jobs, retire, and move to South Florida.
Okay.
Like, legit.
Yeah.
To, like, right now.
Because it's more fun?
She's a mermaid, bro.
Okay, hell yeah. You like the water.
She would live in the
It
ocean.
is fucking cool.
Yeah.
The beach is cool.
So, every time we go, it's always hell to get her home. She just wants to stay there.
Yeah, I mean, it's nice. But yeah, you can always just go on vacation there. But like, but it is cool. But again, it's all like, every place has its cool shit.
Yeah.
And once I got more experienced in the world or whatever, for me, the geographical features of an area are really cool. Especially, I did a bunch of tripping around water, and it was tripping balls around water. It was extraordinary. And we always had friends who were sober to make sure it was safe.
Yeah.
But that sort of thing. For me, once I got more experience, the best amenity, so to speak, of a fucking area is the people. So the people and the people, what you're doing with those people is way better than if it's on a mountain or in a beach or.
I've always said your circle's everything, man.
Yeah,
it really is. I like my circle. My circle's tight. That we hold each other accountable. It's fucking everything.
Hell yeah.
That being said, like, how was the metal part of your life? Was it awesome?
Yeah, it was fucking great. Yeah, and I mean, it's still definitely played a role in how I do stand up or whatever, because I'm yelling a lot or whatever, or just erratically ranting or whatever.
So you say yell? Is that like the lead singer or?
Yeah, I was the only singer. It was like hardcore punk or metal.
Yeah.
Where it's just like people wouldn't say it was singing. They would say it was just yelling or just being like, what? But it's the kind of shit I liked.
And this was back in the day, so
90s and 2000s.
So it was fairly like new, right?
I mean, not really. Metal was new in like the 80s, late 70s or whatever.
So like what, 10, 15 years?
20
I'd say
into
that's
it.
New.
I mean, I was started in 95, and then there was one band from 95 to 99, and then another band from 2003 to 2008. So, I mean, metal was established by that point, but still, it was, and same with hardcore punk. Like, it was just, you're just yelling about shit, but it's just not like a lot of notes as far as singing. It's all just like, rah, 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 barking at people. A little bit, but like, we never got enough that we would be able to sustainably tour for long distances. But we did tour from Florida to LA a couple times, and we toured to New York a couple times. But that was it.
That's so
it
badass,
wasn't like
bro.
we weren't able to keep it going consistently.
Either
and that's
way,
just,
you fucking did it.
yeah, and we did other shit too. Like it was really a lot within Florida.
Yeah.
Like every week doing we're going to fucking Jacksonville or Daytona or fucking Fort Lauderdale or fucking whatever the fuck, Orlando.
Meeting new people every
Yeah,
day.
yeah, and doing shows and meeting other cool bands and open for people. There's crowds. There's a lot more crowds at music shows than stand-up shows. Sadly.
Yeah.
But
Well, especially in Lubbock, man.
Anywhere,
but
yeah.
also too, I think people are waking up, like just waking up to comedy in Lubbock, because I mean I'm new to it. I'm like maybe about 8 months in.
Hell yeah.
Because I had no idea that Lubbock had a comedy
Yeah,
scene.
most people don't. I bet there's so many fans, even of Kill Tony and Rogan and all this, that they don't know that there's a scene here.
Yeah.
There's 2 mics every week, every Wednesday at 9 p.m. at the Lantern Tavern, every Thursday at Bar PM at 8 p.m. It's
Yeah,
like,
it was sad. I missed y'all show on Friday,
Oh, it's
man.
all
I had to
right.
fucking work, but
no, it's all right. But there's new ones every week, and that's the thing. Like the Wednesday and Thursday shows are open mics, and I try to do totally new material each show,
Oh,
not even
nice.
just each week,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
each show. So, and there's some newer comics who are doing they're practicing the same jokes or whatever. But for the most part, the show stays different, stays new. Especially my show is completely different each time. So yeah, people are coming out, and it's fucking cool. And if people knew, there'd be hundreds of people every week. But it's like people just don't know, and I don't know how. I hate marketing and advertising, so I don't know how to fucking do it. And I feel bad. I feel shitty when I do it. So it's like I don't know how to tell the 100,000 people who are probably watching in this city or whatever. Let's say because there's like 250,000 people in the Lubbock area, maybe upwards of 30,000 are watching Kill Tony every week.
oh, for
So
sure.
they love fucking stand up. They love an open mic situation, but they're not at the open mic.
No.
So it's like if they knew about it, they would be, a lot of them, because if you got 300 of 30,000, it's 1/100th of the fucking people.
Yeah.
you think you'd be able to get that, but it's just like word has to get out or whatever, and like we've thought of all sorts of ways, but we're not, as comics, we're not very proactive people. We don't like fucking we're not successful in other ways, so that's why.
Yeah. But I don't know. I think that the platform that I have, I think I've shined the light on Lubbock comedy a good amount, and I would hope to imagine and think that it can only grow from here.
Oh yeah, I mean it's definitely possible in all places. It's possible, and sometimes it happens. It's very rare, even in the big cities.
Yeah.
You go to an open mic and there's 5 people there, and it's like,
Really?
oh fuck. But there's rare instances where, like in Jacksonville, Florida, there's a place called Rain Dogs that had a mic for fucking years and years and years, and every week there's 50 people there in this small back room, separated from the bar, so where punk bands would play, and it was just dark, good PA, good stage, small but fucking
Nice.
air conditioning, and it was fucking just had all the variables, and so as the show grew, as those, it was 30 and then 40 and then 50 every week, it wasn't just newbie comics going up. Other comics in the area who were semi-pro or whatever were like, well, fuck, that's a good show. I'm going to go do it.
No
which
shit,
made the show better because the material was better because more experienced comics were doing it too. And then suddenly there was a bunch of the audience was like, this is a fucking good show. And so they'd tell other people, so it stayed consistently for I was there for 5 years or whatever before I moved to LA. And it was every week, every Monday, on a fucking Monday. It was 50 people on average, sometimes 70, sometimes
On a
30,
Monday.
but 50 on average on a Monday at 9 p.m. in the middle of nowhere, Jacksonville, Florida.
Yeah.
So if the word gets out that there's a good show going on, it can be sustainable.
So you were at the Comedy Store a lot?
Yeah, when I was in LA, that's all I did was hang out there.
And
'Cause
that
it
being
was
said, did they have
amazing.
an open mic or no?
Yeah, they had open mics every week. In the belly room is a smaller room. They have
Yeah.
a small, medium, large, basically. And Kill Tony was in the large room at that point, although it started in the smallest. But Kill Tony was technically an open mic. Everybody would sign up for it. And and then they also have the potluck mic, which is more of an audition for the club
Okay.
in the original room. So but the main open mic was in the small belly room, which was every Sunday night. And yeah, you could go and get up. And again, it's most of the crowd is comics, but it's LA, so there's 150 comics packed there or whatever, or maybe 80 comics packed up in that small room.
Wow.
And just the door guys that work there hosting, pulling names out of a hat.
When you were there, was Mitzi still alive, or
I think she may have been already very, very ill, but
Okay.
like still going or whatever. But yeah, she had not been like, I don't think, at the club. And but yeah, but the spirit was there, and the fucking place is legendary. Everything about it, the dynamics of how it works,
Yeah.
how it's laid out, the format, like how it's built for people. It's the best place I've ever seen that's designed for people to hang out and shit, and just everything's so fluid, and they're cool as fuck with comics. So like, you know, you could go and watch if there's room, you know, later at night, which there always was after 10:30 or 11. They knew you were a comic, even though you're not a regular at the club.
Yeah.
They're like, okay, you're a comic. You can go learn, go watch. You know, Bill Burr's doing a set back there. Rogan's doing a set
That's
over there.
fucking
Like
nuts,
Holtzman's
man.
doing a set. Don Barris is doing a set. All these people, and you can go learn. Yeah, you just go watch them for free. You know, and like you can just jump in every show. If stand in the back, sit in the back row wherever there's empty seats. You know, and fucking learn. Like that kind of shit was just a really just awesome culture. And yeah, it was fucking amazing. And so I did that every night. I was like, what? I could watch Eddie Pepitone and Kurt Metzger and all these guys like for free every night.
Yeah.
Like, and that was the weirdest thing too. Only like 10 comics took them up on that shit. You know, like regularly, a bunch of comics would come and hang out there and like they're schmoozing, they're trying to like whatever. But like only like 10 or so regularly would comics like be like, I get to fucking watch, you know, Brody and fucking Holtzman and Don like learn all this, you know, just
Yeah.
watch some of the best in the world every night, you know.
That's insane.
Yeah,
I didn't know that.
Yeah, it was so cool. And so yeah, I would do that. I would do mics earlier in the night, you know, and in the valley or whatever, and then go there at like 9 p.m. and chill. And yeah, and you know, you meet other comics there. Some of the other few that hang out and
Yeah.
watch the shows. And in between the shows, you're just, you know, because some of the comics are just TV stars. You know, they're not. I mean, they're comics, but they're not like, you know, they're there because they're on TV and the touristy audience loves to, hey, that's the person from that show, you know. But yeah, it's like they would. So yeah, sometimes you go, okay, I'm gonna go get a drink, but Eddie Pepitone's up next. So I'll be like,
Dude.
so I go and you're chilling, talking, and yeah, you'd see Tony and Red Band are hanging out there. Other comics are hanging out. You just talk to them. It's just open at the bar. You know, it was cool as fuck.
No one was a dick.
Right. Everything was cool, and yeah, it was hard to be a dick. There's security.
But
Nobody's gonna be
what
a
I
dick.
mean by that is like, dude, I'm Kill Tony. Don't talk to me.
No,
that type of shit.
Not at all. The opposite.
the ego
opposite.
was out the
No,
fucking
it was
window.
fucking. They were, especially those guys. I think because of the nature of their show.
Yeah.
But like they were super cool and always there.
Well, I don't mean Tony Hinchcliffe, but like any other motherfucker.
Yeah. I
Like,
mean, the super famous dudes weren't like just hanging out in the because they just be bombarded by fans.
Yeah.
But they'd be around, and like the other guys, but most of the guys, even the people who I think are great, are not super famous. So you know, even Metzger and Pepitone are not like really famous, you know, but they're a little bit.
Yeah.
But they're not going to be swamped by fans in Los Angeles. So it was cool. Yeah, you could occasionally just say what's up, whatever, and other people like Don and Holtzman would totally talk to you for a while, and it was cool as fuck. You could learn tons of shit, and I did, and yeah, it was badass. But yeah, the whole culture of it was very chill. And again, now some comics they were just chilling in the back smoking weed or whatever, but a lot of them would come out, and especially again even amongst the regulars, there were a handful that would be there every night, and Tony and Red Band were those two of those guys because they loved the same comics I
I mean,
loved.
they're a fan of comedy.
Yeah, so they would go, Tony would do a 15-minute set, and then he would watch somebody else do a 15 minutes, and at the end of the night, we'd watch fucking, Don Barris in the original room, or Brian Holtzman or Brody in the fucking main room, and just be like, this is fucking amazing, So it's like, it's one of those things where it's like, yeah, so those guys especially were around, and a couple of the other comics would hang around. Rogan would often hang around, but he had to stay. He would probably be in the back mostly because he would be swamped by fans or
For
whatever.
sure.
But yeah, it had that aspect of the comics appreciate comedy and they want to watch the things they're a fan of or interested in or whatever, and yeah.
It was
badass.
crazy when we went to LA. You have like this whole Hollywood on TV growing up, thinking like, and the lifestyle and the party scene is awesome there. What I tripped out on is like most of the time when we went out, it's like 10 o'clock and it's dead everywhere.
Oh, shit.
Like, you know
In
what I'm
LA?
saying? Yeah.
But not at the Comedy Store. It
Well,
was
that-
fucking crazy shows going on until like 2 a.m.
This episode is brought to you by KJ Aesthetics. Let KJ Aesthetics transform your eyes with their beautiful lash sets. Whether you're going for the natural flutter or the bold drama look, KJ Aesthetics is the perfect lashes to elevate your beauty. Get the gorgeous lashes that you've always wanted and mention this ad for 15% off. Head over to Instagram at KJ Aesthetics or text her at 806-893-7171 and tell her it's the JP Lopez Show sent you. This episode is brought to you by RL Creations. Are you looking to turn your ideas into wearable art? Or maybe make a t-shirt into a one-of-a-kind, just like your personality? RL Creations is waiting to turn a blank canvas into your custom creations. Hit her up on Facebook at RL Creations or text her at 806-283-3056.
But
What
yeah,
I'm
in
saying
general, in
is,
the
like,
city,
yeah,
Sunset
yeah,
Strip
like
is like
it's-
surprisingly not very vibrant. Maybe on a Friday or Saturday night, but again, at the places, out at the Rainbow Bar or the fucking Troubadour,
Yeah, because
where
you
there's
have this
shows, the
idea of like
Whiskey
New
A Go-Go or
York
whatever.
and and Vegas, where
Yeah.
everything is just popping.
Yeah,
Everything.
yeah.
And we go to LA, and I'm like, where the fuck are all
Yeah,
the
yeah.
people at?
But yeah, there's one of the Jason Tebow is a great comic, and he was, Sam Tripoli, and it was a friend of his and stuff, and like, and he described LA as like 50 different suburbs, so like it's not, so yeah, you go to most of it is just like as boring as anywhere in America.
Yeah.
But if you're on the Sunset Strip, even still, some of that is just boring and empty at 11 p.m. But other parts of it, like right outside the Comedy Store or right outside the fucking Troubadour or the Whiskey Go, if there's bands playing, it's lively there.
Yeah.
But yeah, a lot of the places, over time are converted to hotels and whatever, apartment buildings. So,
I
and
thought it was nuts, man.
But yeah,
I really
it
did,
is one of
'cause
those things. Yeah.
Everything was dead, and I'm like, where are all the people at?
But there are certain pockets. You just got to find those places.
I mean, we were
when
there.
it's
We
like,
were
yeah.
tourists. We were there
Yeah.
like for a week, so we didn't know where the fucking places were popping. So
Yeah.
it just blew my mind that everything was like
Yeah,
boring. and dead.
yeah. It is surprising. I mean, I was surprised. Just the nature of the thing. You'd be driving, and it's like you're in this whatever suburb of LA, and then you're in this totally other thing. And I'm like, I'm in Toluca Lake now, and then now I'm in North Hollywood. It's just a grid, but like the way that even these different places are vastly different. And then you go down to West. You go through the
Yeah.
Hollywood Hills down to West Hollywood, and then Hollywood, and then like fucking all these other suburby type sections.
Yeah.
But it's like very different. Downtown LA is very different from fucking Van Nuys or Sherman Oaks or whatever, all these things.
We went to see Coco Diaz
Hell yeah.
in La Brea
Okay, hell yeah.
at
La Brea is that's the San Diego one? Oh no, or you mean on La Brea Avenue or whatever?
well, it was closer to Anaheim, and I thought it was called La Brea, but
Yeah,
maybe
I think
not.
that is
Maybe-
the other. Like the Comedy Store has a small place in a smaller. It's still a club, but like I think it's that in the San Diego area, not in LA, or was it in the LA?
No, because it was like closer. It was
Okay.
like Anaheim.
Okay, but did you? Yeah, it might have been a different club you saw in that.
So-
yeah.
Yeah, I don't think it was a Comedy Store.
Okay.
I think it was called the Improv.
Okay. Yeah. They probably have one
Yeah.
in Anaheim or whatever.
So we get there, and I mean, he didn't sell out.
Right, and you're like,
and
what
it
the
just
fuck?
blew my fucking mind. I'm
it's-
like, this dude this is his home.
Yeah, it's
and
like,
where are the fucking people?
it's like that. I figured the same thing about Metzger or Pepitone, and why? But it's a weird thing about. I saw Maria Bamford is a hugely famous comic. She did it. She was working on her newest hour, and so she was like, "Hey, put in the where comics look for and people look for what's going on comedy wise
Yeah,
or whatever, and it tells you if it's a free show or $5, $10, whatever it is, or mics that you can go sign up for, and and she was like, "Hey, I'm doing the thing. I'm working on my new hour, so it's free. You just come. It's like 4 p.m. or whatever, just like early show." I'm like, "Oh, this is gonna be packed." And it's like 15 people, 20 people, but she does it all week, and so I went many times because I'm learning from one of the greats again for free, just watching her develop the hour and like seeing, oh, she changed this, oh, she put this here, like did this like this time, whereas the other time it was like this, and like it was like, and I'm like, but she's got probably thousands of fans in LA. Where the fuck are they?
Yeah.
But it's just there's something about the statistics of getting an audience to places where if you don't go through the regular channels where it's at a theater or a club, and there's this big promotions company that puts it in everybody's fucking eyeballs so they know, exactly when and where to be there and make a thing about, it's very odd that most people, like, they don't just go and do something, or they don't do it just for the substance.
Yeah.
They oftentimes do it because, I liked this or whatever, but I don't want to see it in a fucking small indie place, with 20 people. I'm like, that's exactly where I've seen Chappelle multiple times at the Comedy Store, but the best were when it was 20 people. It was insane.
Wow.
Like, insane. Like, so good. But again, not everybody's going to appreciate that. Same thing with the Dice thing. When Dice was doing fucking shows for stadiums and he's going like, yeah, hickory dickory dock, it's like, okay,
Yeah.
that's good. But like, when you see him in front of 20 people, which I also got to do because he would occasionally just drop in and do a set in the original room of the Comedy Store, and he would be like doing crowd work. I'm like, I'm fucking seeing this live.
Wow.
That's crazy. This is one of my favorite things ever, is him doing crowd work. And it's so that kind of thing. Same with Chappelle, to see that him work out material in a small room. You also saw some bigger rooms, and that was awesome too.
Yeah.
But the small room where it's harder, it's later, because he'll show up at like 1 a.m. or 2 a.m. or
Like,
whatever,
you are blowing my fucking mind, because
It was a lot of fun.
You are talking comedy in a true art form.
It is. It's
Learning
writing. It's writing. Yeah.
Fucking going through the motion, and then like observing it, learning it. I don't think very many comics treat
I mean, some do, but some don't.
comedy
Yeah.
like that.
Yeah, but that's what I guess a lot of people. Yeah, most people don't even know there's tons of books, like, not stupid, like, how to do stand-up comedy or whatever,
Yeah.
but like actual books, philosophy books on humor and how it works, and how, like, for fuck's sake, Sigmund Freud wrote a book about jokes in like 1905, and it's still like one of the things that all our favorites read when they were like in the 1970s or 1980s or whatever.
Wow.
Because it's like, it's about psychology too, but it's also about jokes and how they work and why they work and all this stuff. So, and the structure and how you're supposed to, so there's all this theory about that shit and it's all, it's a fluid thing. So you just keep inventing, discovering new ways to find a laugh, discovering new ways of how to make a situation or say a thing a certain way that fucking gets a laugh. And I just tape everything and just see what works, and then try to do it again.
In all honesty, before this conversation, I'm thinking comedians as an art form is just going up to the fucking canvas and just painting their thoughts, that type of shit.
Right.
You know what I mean? It never occurred to me to learn, to read, to study.
Yeah, to study other comics. I mean, a lot of people watch their favorite comics and go, "Oh, Shane Gillis does this," or "Oh, fucking Louis does that."
Watch them, not study them.
Right, well, they will study. Okay, he
You get
said
what I'm
this, and then
saying?
he went like this, and
No,
then he
I'm
went
talking like that. That was never a thought. For me.
A lot of them
Yeah.
do that, but they'll do that in a, just to watch their favorite.
Yeah.
They don't go and then read the theory.
I never thought
gave
of
that
people
guy his
watching
odds,
this guy to study him.
Right,
I
right.
thought-
Yeah, yeah. A lot of people do, but they'll do that just on a superficial.
Yeah.
At least they'll get there, but they won't dig deep. There's hundreds of books on comedy and like all the in-depth shit, and yeah, people have talked about them. Different. Rogan used to talk about years and years ago, whatever,
That's
Joey,
crazy.
there's even tons of comics that we like
Yeah.
that were talking about. Oh, I read this book about Lenny Bruce, or I read this book about whatever. And yeah, it tells you just little bits, little gems here and there in this 400-page thing. And if you find them, it's like a fucking video game power up. You learn a thing about a thing, writing and performing, conveying an idea in a way that makes people laugh, but also makes people whatever. There's all sorts of other variables that you're playing with in order to get them to laugh.
Yeah.
And yeah, there's complexity to it. But yeah, a lot of guys at mics or whatever, they're newer or whatever, but they learn over time. And
yeah, you blew my mind. And also, I couldn't even think or imagine a fucking Chappelle show with 20 people.
yeah,
But also, he
liked
probably
that, though.
was like a surprise guest,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, exactly. He would do that on purpose.
Yeah.
He would show, just like Dice would, and other like famous people would just show up. So nobody knew they were going to be there. And Chappelle would do it often where he would show up late. So no one knew he was going to be there. And all of a sudden at 1:30 a.m., he just rolls into the room and everybody goes, "Everybody I know, get here now." So occasionally it would go from 20 people to 200 people, like within a 20-minute period, because everybody would be like,
Yeah,
"You gotta
of
get
them
here."
tweets and shit, yeah.
But but oftentimes it was just 20 to 40 people, and it was just like incredible. And to see him just perform the magic, you know, and just
Wow.
create material, try out material, do crowd work, all that shit. Yeah, but that's what he wanted was, because again, you know, Rock's talked about this in fucking interviews and stuff where you talk about, yeah, you want a joke to work, you want a bit to work, even when there's hardly anybody there. And if it works well when there's hardly anybody there, it'll work really well when there's 1,000
When
people
there-
there.
yeah.
So like it's kind of like you try to build it in phases, and that's one of, I would say, and that's one of the things I learned from him watching him is how he developed material to whatever degree I could discern from what he was doing.
Yeah.
You know, like how he was working out ideas, trying things, discovering things from talking to people in the crowd, that kind of shit, you know? And then eventually seeing it in a special months later and being like, fuck, that's how he went from that to that
Yeah.
to that. And like,
Dude, that's awesome, bro. That
it was so much fun too. Like because I've been a writer for a long time, even when I was in the bands or whatever I was writing. So like, but then morphing it to writing, you know, stand up. Yeah, I was obsessed with writing. So I would watch these guys all the time, and be like, this is fucking insane.
so that's dude, I love writing. I
It's
really
badass.
do.
It's
And
badass.
I love to journal.
Hell yeah.
A lot of people ask me, how do you journal? And I'm like, well, I'm not the guy to fucking ask because it all started, in all honesty, it all started on an old laptop. It was actually my very first laptop. And me and my buddies would write movie scripts or just ideas for like a skit in a movie or a certain scene or a part in a movie. And then it just went from there. I started buying fucking journals and all that. My life is so fucking busy and crazy now that I don't write as much as I used to, but I was writing all the fucking time.
And it's good with stand up. Also, a lot of the writing is done like with your mouth. So it's like, you know, you get up on a stage and you're like, I got this idea about this thing, and I just go with it and see
Yeah.
what happens and tape it. And then so you may have never written anything down. And so like in the writing, sometimes I do write stuff down, you know, and every comic does it slightly differently or whatever.
Yeah.
But like, you know, a lot of times I'll write stuff or just aspects of things or outlines, you know, and then, but then, yeah, a lot of the writing, you just have an idea or you talk it to yourself on a voice memo or whatever. And you just like say the thing. Oh, I like the way I said it like that. I'll memorize myself how I said it like that, do it as part of the thing. And then write it down, you know, and all create this bigger and bigger thing if it works.
When you are amongst your peers, are you funnier or
I mean, that's the thing. I got to be careful with the type of stuff that I do, even on stage. It pisses some people off so badly that they're in fight mode. So, like, if I'm off stage, even with other comics, if I say what I think is funny, like I've learned, I got to be, sadly, I can't just let loose because even other comics will be like, what the fuck did you just say? Like, you know, it's just, I never know. You know, I've inadvertently pissed off. I'm kind of fucking Asperger's or whatever, you know, like I've inadvertently pissed off some people. I didn't mean to. Like you said, I'm not trying to ruffle feathers. I just have these ideas that I've had for years and years about society, and that apparently they piss the fuck out of people. But it's just, that's part of it. And so oftentimes, you know, occasionally if I know people, I'll say something, but oftentimes, I mean, because of the nature of the type of stuff I do, I still got to be like, is this fucker going to fucking throw a bottle if I say this kind of shit?
Yeah.
Even if I know them well.
Well, wow.
So it's like, just because it's like, again, when you're fucking stomping on people's beliefs, even my own, it's like, you know, I can take it, I'm used to it, but the vast majority of people cannot.
Yeah.
So when it's a crowd, though, everybody's like, oh, I fucking hate this guy, but I don't know if everybody else does, so I'm not going to rush the stage because then I might get my ass beat. You know, like, so it's like that kind of, there's a sort of inadvertent defense in numbers there because they don't know the other comics are going to do, you know, that kind of shit. So, yeah, but in conversation, there's all these legendary stories of people hanging out at the comics table kind of thing. Yeah.
Well, the
Because,
reason
you know,
why I
they're busting
asked that-
balls, but they're not like just destroying everything they care about.
Yeah.
You know,
No, the reason why I asked that though is because for all my life I worked around a lot of people.
yeah.
And then when I got my actual career, it was just a one-man band show. For 12 hours, one man. and then your relief would come. You give them their turnover, and it was that next one man person. So I'm telling you that because I've always been a funny guy, but I felt like I kind of lost my edge or my funniness a little bit.
Okay.
When I went into my career and just started working by myself.
Yeah, I mean,
because I
that's-
was a lot more funnier, working around a bunch of fuckers, man.
Yeah, I mean, there's people they say that like the more you become successful in something other than comedy, or even in a professional way,
Yeah.
the less there's people who say that about whatever metal bands and comedians. Oh, their first two records, their first two specials were the best, but like after that they were rich and famous, and it hits you, it affects you, and it's still good, but it's not like great like the original shit. Like even the shit, the crazy, Rage Against the Machine. Oh, the first album was great. But like it's like a little bit not as great like
Like
the
raw
all the shit.
hunger.
Right, whatever it is. Yeah, it is the generating position of whatever the material is.
Yeah.
And you can see that. But yeah, if somebody gets a regular job and then it's like they're not like enmeshed in it like they were or whatever. And I try to stay in that. So like, but yeah, it's all subjective as fuck. But that is a thing I've experienced and a thing my friends have told me. Oh, I really love Tarantino's movies at this point, the first 3 or 4, and then they were good after that, but they weren't like, but then Inglourious Basterds was really fucking good, and Django was really fucking good, but then there was all right,
Yeah.
whatever. It's that kind of shit, like, where it's like, even Pink Floyd, they're like, oh, bam, when this fucking album hit, it was like the most amazing thing, and then after Dark Side, it was like, okay, like, and then whatever, by the time Division Bell, whatever, it was like, all right.
Right,
Like,
yeah.
it's just like, because they become softer and gentler and like more famous and rich, and they're like, we can get a bigger audience if we're softer and gentler or whatever, that kind of shit. Or there's less members, I think, in Floyd or whatever. But that kind of thing happens with everything, no matter how awesome the thing is.
I always chalk that up to just the hunger's gone.
Yeah, that's a
'Cause they're
huge part of
being
it.
fed.
Yeah, that's a
Yeah.
huge part of it. And yeah, now every day, instead of fucking like striving because of that hunger,
Yeah.
now every day they're getting they're experiencing rich people shit and getting mad pussy all the time.
Yeah.
And that's it. And it's like, okay, it's different, But yeah, when you're struggling or whatever, it's fucking it's a different thing. And when you're but even at whatever level, you're just doing what you're doing, but you're not rich, you're not famous, you haven't succeeded in any material way, really. Yeah, that's where I would say the greatest shit comes from, but that doesn't mean it still can't be great after the fact. There are people like Carlin, who was rich as fuck, and Pryor, who was rich as fuck, when they made their greatest things later in life. Like, they're by far their greatest stand-up, and it was like, wow, he skipped that beat. Like, how did he avoid that hunger trap?
Yeah.
But they do. So some of the greats can totally avoid that and deliver their greatest stuff when they're already multimillionaires, living in mansions, doing cocaine off of tits every day. So it's doable, but apparently it takes a very strong person, worldview, and a level of experience and genius of Pryor or Carlin
Yeah, for
to
sure.
do that. So it's my guess or whatever. But the vast majority of cases, it would be like, the less hungry they are, the more they fucking...
Fuck, dude. So did you move to LA to quote unquote make it, or
No, just to do stand up, because I knew there were other rooms, and I wanted to experience a lot of the things I liked about stand up.
There's two main
yeah.
places, right? Wasn't it the Laugh Factory and then the Comedy Store?
Yeah, and the Improv, but yeah,
Oh, the
but
Improv,
yeah,
okay.
basically. But for me, I liked all 3 of the places, but like the Comedy Store was like most like what I like. It was just so interesting and so open. The Improv was cool too, and Laugh Factory was cool, but it was like more like corporate in a way.
Yeah, yeah.
Whereas the Comedy Store was business, but it was like there was something strange about it and really interesting. And a lot of my favorites over the history of it, Carlin and Pryor and fucking Paul Mooney, and Paul Mooney was the closer for a long time there, and like Kinnison and Dice and all these guys who were there regularly. Yeah, it was much more of a like dark, fucked up place where like crazy shit happened and crazy stand-up was made, and like so that. And once I saw it and once I experienced, the building itself and the people there,
Yeah.
it was like there was no comparison, and it was just that all the shit we were talking about before, like just an incredible time there. But yeah, it's fucking, you know.
I'm such a fan of comedy, bro, that you, from what you just told me now about the Comedy Store, it'd be so hard for me to just peel me out of there.
Yeah, it's great.
I'd be there all the fucking time.
Yeah, it's like that. It's like that. It's fucking, it's addictive as fuck. Because, but yeah, a lot of comics, I guess, they do go to LA to make it because they want to be on TV and all that shit. But the type of shit I do would never get me on shit like that. And I don't want to get on shit like that. That's why I've done, you know, and I guess it's good that I started after I was already yelling in hardcore bands for fucking 20 years before I started doing stand-up. So I was already yelling about these things to crowds that are already pissed off plenty of people in crowds over the years. And so I knew what I was trying to do. I'm not trying to fucking go there and get famous. I'm trying to write crazy fucked up shit and learn from the best and experience that area and the mics, you know, because still you meet a lot of comics, you get to do a lot of shows and even mics with really interesting people, you know, and so I had a lot of fun, you know, generating material there by just trying in front of 8 people in a crowd, you know, usually mostly comics, if not all comic, you know, and but it was, yeah. And then when I saw what the Comedy Store was like, it was like, oh fuck, this is so, you know what I mean, like just so special to play and so different. And that's what I, you know, feel like. Fucking look at me. Like I go around and like it's not like I've always been strange, you know, off whatever. I did so much acid. I saw the world a certain way that I feel is, you know, more. I honed in on something and like but everybody else was like, don't do drugs, kids. Look, like kind of shit, you know, like, and it applies. You know, it's just one of those things where I like more fucked up shit. Yeah. So like, so that's what I was going there to like learn from whatever the experience is. I was very vaguely familiar with the shit.
You as your own character on Tanner's new animated.
Oh, okay.
That would be fucking badass, bro.
Thing. Yeah. I mean, yeah. I don't know how they're doing that. But like, I guess AI can do it, or I don't know if they're.
Yeah, I'm not sure how either, but I'm just saying to be you on a show.
Yeah, that's the kind of thing. Man. That's the only thing I would end up on a show is if did you just see a cameo of a stoner or whatever, or dude who did too much acid. That kind of shit, but
it's like let's just go to Chris Heist for information or whatever,
right.
Type of
Which
shit.
Again, it was my,
and then you just fuck them off.
That's
like,
how
blow their minds.
That's probably how I heard about George Carlin was fucking from Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure. So like when he was in that movie as a time traveler, you know, I was like 11, you know, or something. And I was like, holy shit! And then like maybe I had seen him do stand up before, but I hadn't put 2 and 2 together. You know, until later, like, oh, this is this very historic philosophical comic that they put there on purpose so that the next generation would see in this, you know, it's a silly sci-fi movie, but it has like a lot of depth to it, strangely, that it wouldn't normally have, partly because of his character and what he says and does. So it's like that kind of thing. Yeah, but yeah, that's the kind of shit. So I appreciate those kinds of things. He was never a big movie star, but to me, that role was like, critical when I was 11. And then when I saw him do, you know, when I was a little older and drinking and, you know, at 15 or whatever and watch some HBO shit of him, you know, and this is like, you know, fucking, I don't know, 1989 or some shit. And I'm like, fuck, this is amazing. You know, like, and then I get into it and then I watch as the new ones come out, you know, so I'm watching, you know.
You are 5 years older than me, so you're not that much older.
Yeah, I'm 49.
So that being said, when you said, you know, teenage drinking, everything, like, weird sign that. I fucking grew up watching that shit.
Yeah.
I'm such an old man now because I did hella crazy shit in my youth.
Yeah.
I was
still doing crazy shit,
man
but like
shit in like middle school.
No, I was going to bars at 15.
Yeah.
Like but you know, because me and my friends, we'd fucking you know, do what you had to do.
We were buying dollar beers at the fucking club at 15.
Yeah.
No business being there.
Yeah. But somehow we got away with it because it was easier to get away with shit then.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
That sort of stuff. But it wasn't. It was even easier the generation before us. But we could still do it, and did, and it was fucking awesome. But yeah, you know, you get, you know, that's where you hear the good music for the first time, all that shit. You know how to discern what good music is.
Well, that's the thing
like.
Too. Is I remember being drunk, listening to a song I hated.
Yeah.
And then I liked it.
Yeah.
And I was like, holy fuck, this makes sense now. And then that was the thing. Like, I'd love to
Yeah.
get drunk and listen to music because then I fucking actually heard the music.
Yeah, and it's different. Yeah, even tripping. If you ever tripped, like music is fucking different. That was one of the first things. Like I remember the first trip and like listening to some of my favorite bands, like in my friend's car who had a kick-ass stereo, and like it was like, oh shit,
Like, this is good shit.
this is like you hear things that are like complexity to it that is just beyond, and it's amazing. But you know, you also got to be careful with that shit.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, have sober people around, so you don't just go, "Hey, let's go, dude, let's go."
fuck
Yeah. But
Let's jump off this cliff together.
Right, or whatever. This, you just make errors, like not that bad of error, which is the famous stereotype, whatever. But you do make, just like, hey, if you're drunk, you want to have a friend around who's sober, just to fucking make sure. That's what it's not just designated driver, but like somebody who's not gonna make sure you don't start a fight with a big guy. Or fucking.
But if you grew up with anything like my friends, you're like, fuck you, I'm not drinking tonight. Like, I'm drinking with everybody. Like, no, you got to be the sober. Like, fuck no, I'll stay home if that's the case.
And again, it's different for everybody. Some people, they have the greatest time. Everyone's careless as fucking somehow they make it through. But I heard so many fucked up stories. Yeah, like, drunk driving is something. But acid driving is suicide.
Oh, shit.
Like suicide. Like you are dead. There's no way around it. Like it's just like, and I remember hearing a story about some kid who's way older than me in high school or whatever, who, he was apparently on LSD and drove. And you wreck, of course. There's no chance of you making like a mile drive if you're tripping balls. And you shouldn't at all. Like try, because it's fucking insane. Suicidal. But like that's the kind of thing. Drunk, you might get away with it. You still shouldn't do it, but you might get away with it. But like tripping is like all the lights are fucking blended together and the fucking
you're right.
everything's
Now
blended
I get
together.
what you're
like,
fucking saying. You've got to have a friend. That's
you gotta have.
It never
better.
occurred to me that motherfuckers would trip and then drive.
But then again, I have so many times I would trip balls just by myself, but I was experienced by that point. I had tripped with people many, many times, and then I would just hang out at my house. I knew not to just go outside or whatever, because that's another cool thing about tripping. When you're tripping, weird shit happens. I don't know how. I'm still trying to figure this out, how space-time warps or whatever, but like rarer shit will happen when you're tripping balls.
Wow.
Maybe not that much rarer, but rarer shit, weird shit. You'll be just
And
like,
it's like, this never happens.
This is a
And
low
then it
probability.
happened. Yeah.
And then, just strange sort of things. So, like, in that sense, if you go outside, you might run into somebody. So it might be cool, weird shit, and it might be very not cool, weird shit. So, like, you would kind of try to, like, again, there's some people who got away with it. Let's just see where the path goes, man. But, like, also, most people were like, okay, let's be a little more cautious with it. Let's fucking like just chill here in the yard of this place and like, maybe drift a little bit, but not,
Wow.
But or you're at a music festival, whatever. You're at a festival. There's a bunch of people partying. It's a localized, it's kind of a confined thing or whatever to some extent. But in general, I always found it, once I was experienced, I could make those judgments. You become less error prone when tripping, but initially you're very error prone, and so you just like drunk. If you've never been drunk only a handful of times, But if you're an experienced alcoholic, you could drive a bus. No, but you know what I mean.
Most
like you
definitely.
could totally.
I get what you're saying.
You could hold a job and nobody would know that you were drunk every day.
Yeah, I'm
you know,
a
that
pretty,
kind of thing.
very experienced whiskey drinker, so I get what you're saying.
Hell yeah. So it's that kind of thing. With experience comes experience, and you can, but you still are experienced enough to know not to try to do crazy shit when you're really fucked up, because that's just part of it. But like, in general, it's a beautiful thing, and I enjoyed the fuck out of it. But it's also a thing you can do in moderation. Cocaine you can do every second of every day. But like acid, and mushrooms, you can do once a week, maybe once every 2 weeks.
Yeah.
But if you try to do it the next day, it's not gonna be as good. You got to give it time.
Have you ever done DMT?
No, I've heard so many things about it, but I stopped. I mean, I haven't done acid or mushrooms in a long time. And then DMT, I started hearing about that like 10 years after I stopped, and I'm like, and I know people who do it. I might do it at some point, but I don't even. I've experienced the hallucinogenic realm, so to speak, so many times for so many years. That I've heard people even say, they got what they needed to get from it or whatever, and I've experienced so much on it. It was so amazing, and I'm still writing about it.
See,
decades later.
I asked that question because that's one drug that I want to try.
Yeah, it's because you've never done any hallucinogen, but I have.
But
done
also
tons.
too, it's like how you just said.
Right.
I believe that in my mind, there's something in this drug that's like behind the door that I just need to grab.
Oh yeah, that's a quick.
That I need to take.
That's a quick way to get like a hell of a hallucinogenic
Yeah.
experience because it's super intense, supposedly. Super quick, like 45 minutes or whatever, and you just other realm. You're just fucking, and you come back possibly a completely different person, or much more enlightened, or much more spiritual, whatever they call it.
And I've heard that as soon as you come back down, no longer are you afraid of death.
Right, and all that shit.
And
There's
my
a whole
anxiety, I would love, like I said, I just love to take that bag from behind that door and come out with it. And,
I mean, if you
no
if
longer
you want,
have
if you want,
that fear. You know?
Yeah. I mean, that's part of it. But just the whole. That's why people say it's psychologically beneficial. It can somehow for some people treat anxiety and all these whatever existential
Yeah.
situations or whatever. But also, yeah, it's probably really fucking fun. I know acid and mushrooms is really fucking fun if you do it right,
Yeah.
If you do too much, it's not fun. If you do too little, it's not fun. But if you do it with the wrong people, it's not at all fun. If you do it with some fucking angry douches, it's not going to be cool.
Oh, wow.
Because it's all about, as Timothy Leary and them said, set and setting, where you are, who you're with, how well do you know them? You don't know them at all? It's going to be weird. If you know them or you a little bit, but you don't really know them deep, it could sour the relationship. That kind of shit. So like it's a trippy fucking thing because I mean it's a very psychological thing.
Yeah.
You look at a person, it's like it's like it's like holy fuck, and like you'll talk to them and you're both kind of, if you're both tripping, you'll be like you stumble in your words
That's
a lot,
nuts, man.
So you got to be cool with people, and they got to be cool with you, and you've been fucked up in other ways before, that kind of shit. You got to be. But yeah, it's for DMT. I've heard similar things, but you just go completely to another place. So you're just like on Whippets or something. You're just like, hey, and then everybody's like, all right, wait for him to come back. So that's what I've heard.
Yeah.
But so it's
and
like,
I heard also too that it was like a 10-minute high or some shit. Like it was
the
real,
most
real
intense
small.
of it. Yeah, the most intense part is like 10 minutes, and then it like
And
lingers
that's
for a
all
little
I
bit
need
for
to
another
know.
30.
You know what I mean? Like the
And,
fear of never coming back down. 10-minute high. I can
Right.
handle
Because
that.
I remember the first 10-hour acid trip where it was like hour 6, and I'm like, fuck, is this always going to be like this?
man.
But you only think that for a second, and then you're playing video games or whatever, or talking to a friend, or fucking thinking about the universe. So it's all over the place. So yeah, it's one of those thoughts, just like anything else, because that's just your body just wondering or whatever. But that only happens like the first couple times.
Yeah,
or whatever,
yeah.
But yeah, it's interesting. But yeah, it's fucking it's all up to the people to make their own decisions and all that legal stuff.
Yeah.
He said for us to do acid. Shit, I did.
So let me ask you before we leave, man. All right, so this is my thought process, and I just want to pick your brain just a little bit.
Hell yeah.
Because you're pretty smart.
Thanks, man. I try.
I go shopping. I go out to eat. I go to the gym, and I see these old men who are not really old. Probably like mid-60s. And dude, they're struggling. Like they've got canes, walkers.
Yeah.
Their wives, healthy as can be.
Yeah, that's one of the things. Women age better than men.
Okay, so this is my thought and theory on this. Is like, all right, man, these motherfuckers have been working their to the bone, man. Like they've just whittled down to nothing, really.
Yeah.
Into retirement that was just a shitty fucking existence.
Right.
Because you see them and they are in pain.
Right.
And the wife is just like, hurry the fuck up. So that's my thought process is like they've worked their bodies.
Yeah, enjoy life now because it ain't that enjoyable at 68.
Is that how you see it too? Or?
To some degree. Because I always hated the fucking very cookie cutter model of and other comics have already talked about this, in bits or whatever of like, you work and then you retire. Really? That's what you're going to do? You're going to be a slave your whole good life and then be and then be free when you can't use it.
You can't use it.
Yeah, it's like that's so. I mean, a lot of people are getting used to the world differently, especially after all the crazy shit that's happened in this country in this world for the past 20 years or whatever. They're like, yeah, I'd rather not work all the time. I'd rather fucking party and have fun now, because who knows if an asteroid hits tomorrow or whatever, that kind of shit, which is totally understandable. Because the leaders of all the world's nations have failed the human species is one of my special names. So like, it's one of those things where it's like, if you got incompetent, greedy fuckheads at the top of every organization in the whole world, what do you really? We're supposed to fucking do what they want? Like, why would you do what any authority? Why wouldn't you not try to enjoy whatever proportion of time you can? And that's what I try to do. Even on a low level or whatever. But that's one of the things you learn how to do with experience, and like, so you're not like trying to just, get all your enjoyment. Yeah. But that's part of also like, I mean, I guess it's inherent to some extent, the midlife crisis sort of thing or whatever. I'm 49, but I've kind of like fucked off for a while, and I continue to want to, I enjoy the slower pace of what I do.
Yeah, you've got it figured out.
I mean, to a little bit of an extent. I'm constantly trying to figure shit out, and I'm constantly figuring more shit out. Yeah. But it's not easy. But I try to not be constantly, and I'm totally not. I've not gone the route of the fucking like typical cookie cutter success. Yeah. Because I'm not interested in that, and I know a lot of what goes along with it, like the fucked up, aspects of it, and what I would consider a waste of the times of life. To achieve that sort of thing. Now, again, it makes certain parts. If you can retire early enough, then it makes it better. At that point. But if you can't, then you wasted So it's all relative too. So
it took me a lot of years to figure out for me that I'm in a good position in life. Yeah. Because I was so pissed that I was passed up upon numerous times for several positions, and these positions are at least like minimum like 30 grand more than what I make in a year, right? But then it took me a while to understand, look at their life. They fucking hate life.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, they're making that money, but they fucking they dread it.
Yeah.
And then they'll come over and I'll talk to them, and it's just like, I want to fucking quit this place, bro.
Yeah.
And I'm like, you know what? I think I'm in a fucking great position. I'm in.
If you have enough free time for what you want or whatever. And for me, I like freedom, free time, all of that. Like the ability to do what you want when you want is like number one. And like, experience the good things as best you can. I live in a shack, but I like it. I built it. It's one of those things where it's like, but I did that so that I would be able to do less. And get by. Yeah. And like, I'm living in the middle of nowhere and, 25 miles, away from Lubbock.
Oh shit, I didn't know that.
Yeah, where there's no permits, you don't need to do nothing, so I thought that was cool as fuck. And so I studied a long time, tried to figure out how the fuck to do that, and figured out how the fuck to do that. And have just been, chilling this place. So there's no rent, there's no mortgage. It's just this shack that I built. It's now pretty big for a shack, but it's cool, and it's got cool aspects to it too. Like
a lot of people, your shit.
Yeah, and it gives me the freedom to do what the fuck I want. I can edit my own fucking special on the fucking computer. I got free time to think of all the stand up I'm trying to do. All this sort of shit, and it's like,
well, that's why I say you got it figured out, because you're doing what you want to do.
Yeah,
right?
I'm
You're
trying.
not the motherfucker that's trying to keep up with the Joneses. That's got $1 million
right?
home
No, I couldn't give
and
a
just
shit.
Frustrated as
no,
fuck
and
to
once
pay
I
that
learned,
mortgage every month.
when I learned about building houses. My shack or whatever, I realized $1 million home is actually cheap as fuck if you do it yourself, and if you know how to do it, you don't need even. And mine is far from that, but like it's still, to see all the gouging that happens in our economy, especially with vehicles and homes, is just like, it's an insanely infuriating thing to say like, oh shit, this $1 million house cost the company that built it 40 grand, and they're charging people $1 million.
Yeah.
Oh, what thievery! But like, that's just the way it is until if people don't know enough about a thing. And that's why I learned, because I didn't know shit about cars for a long time. And then I started learning a little bit here or there. And I'm like, I've been getting fucked. And I figured out how to fucking do it. And now, but the way that I do things, I drive beaters, junkers, just fucking $1,000 I pay for each of the vehicles
Yeah.
I get, but they lasted just as long as the vehicles I spent more on. And I'm like, they're dented up if there's a hailstorm. Oh no, there's a hailstorm. Oh no, there's more dents in it.
Yeah,
There's already dents in
It's
it.
less worry.
Yeah, exactly. There's somebody else hanging out in the vehicle. I don't smoke, but friends of mine, they were, can we smoke? And I'm like, yeah, I don't give a fuck. It was $1,000 for this vehicle. And so, like, you care less. Because I remember when I had, like, a new, it wasn't a good vehicle, but it was new, and I got a ding in it. Somebody dinged. I was like,
Yeah.
and I was like,
Yeah.
I don't want to feel like that ever. I fucking hated myself in that moment. And I was like, I'm not going to. So, like, I just started. And plus, the fact that they last,
whether you
know?
give yourself credit for it or not, I'll tell you, you've got it figured out, bro.
Well, thanks. But
because
most people
my
would,
fucking ass is out there hating my car because it's got hail damage on it right now.
Right.
And I'm just like, motherfucker.
No,
man.
somebody
Yeah.
I know was like telling me about all the hail damage they got in the recent storm.
Yeah.
And how many, like, over $10,000 and something dollars that they were going to have to pay to get it fixed. I was like, shit, I could build a house for that. Yeah. You're going to just fix hail damage on your car for that? The fuck are you doing? Like, people don't know.
Yeah.
It's like, it's really, but again, and people don't want to live in the middle of the West Texas desert. They should. It's cheap land, and fucking you can fucking do whatever the fuck you want. But yeah, it's one of those things where most people would see my house and be like, I'm not living in that shit. But like some people would be like, that's actually fucking cool.
Yeah.
But or I would build it differently. But like I see what this is going
But
for.
it's your shit.
Yeah, exactly. It's for me.
It's yours.
Yeah, it works, and yeah, and now it's pretty big, 700 square feet. So it's not like super small, but it's like not big, but like it's big
It's
enough.
just you.
Yeah.
You're not married.
Yeah, no, it's just me. So it's like fucking, and yeah, there's enough space. I got a little more space on the line I could add to it, but yeah, you just do it whenever. Yeah, the wood is cheap compared to what, once I figured all that, and to see the gouging that happens in this economy is just, it's ruthless thievery. It just.
Well, that's my question. How much is, when is it going to be enough?
Yeah, you mean
And
for
it'll
the
be
companies, for the rich people? No, they never
It'll
have.
never be enough.
They never. That's the bottomless pit of greed or
Like
whatever.
I learned that watching Shark Tank.
Oh yeah, those douches.
When they were like,
Yeah.
what's your
Top offer or whatever. What
no,
will you
like
accept or whatever? Or?
when they asked, I can't remember the word, but like it costs 10 cents to make it, and then they ask you, well,
What's your margin or
your
whatever?
margin,
Yeah.
and they're like, oh, it's like 110%, and I'm like, motherfucker, it costs
Yeah.
12 cents to make that. Why are
Yeah.
you selling it for $20?
Yeah.
But I mean, I get it.
Yeah, but
I'm maybe it's like just me being who I am. I'm like, if it was 12 cents and I sold it for $5, it's still affordable and it's enough money for me to shine.
There's all that
But
shit's relative.
people are like, no, $40.
Yeah.
$50.
No, and that's the thing. There's economics textbooks at colleges that you can take classes in, and they break down all those little fucking curves of like, how much profit versus how much price, how much demand, and you're gonna fuck yourself on the number of sales if you charge too much, all that sort of shit. But yeah, some people are just like, fuck it, I'm just gonna gouge. And then whole industries get into gouging, like what vehicles do, what fucking houses do. Those are the two main bills. And then of course medical shit and fucking like insurance shit and like, all the different shit that people are. Again, even 20 years ago, the bills were way cheaper than they are now. But it's just that people are ignorant of how, and I used to be ignorant of how the economy worked. I used to be fucking, just as I was, buying a vehicle for whatever, 5 or 10,000, a used vehicle, and then like paying it off, and then like it break down. And I'm like, well,
And then you're
what the
fucked.
fuck? Yeah.
You're still fucked with
so
that
now,
loan.
what I did was, I bought the $1,000 vehicles, and like over time, it's hard to find them, but over time I find them.
Yeah.
And then if one of them breaks down, I got another one.
Yeah.
Ready to go. And
No,
then
for
like,
sure.
and then I like right now, one of them did break down after 3 years of working, and I put 120,000 miles on it in those 3 years.
Nice.
And like the other one was a backup, but I drove it every once in a while. Now I got it. Now I got to find another backup.
Now you got to find that side piece again.
Yeah, exactly. But I prefer to have two side pieces as far as vehicles are concerned, because then it's like, because right now I'm kind of stressing a little bit. You feel like if that one breaks down, I'm
You're
fucked
like,
again.
fuck.
But again, even if I have to pay $2,000, it's still a small fraction of the cost of a usual vehicle.
Yeah.
And they're pretty good. Even, it's like, why the fuck would I not, at least at this point when I am scraping by or trying to live as independently as I can and like fucking as, cheaply as I
Yeah,
can.
yeah.
It's like, it works perfectly in this position. Now, if I started making a bunch of money, I don't know what I'd still probably do that shit to some extent because I like it. I like the fucking, it's fucking, but I'd probably spend money on other things, or whatever. As I said, that's a whole nother
Yeah.
thing. We got to close.
I've always said that. Like, there's got to be some, like, very frugal people, right? And then
Yeah.
they finally make money. There's something that's going out the window.
Oh yeah, no, but for me, like I have a bit that I'm trying to write about this now is like a fucking for me, and I have because I have all these crazy economic theories or whatever. But like, I think it's up to the people. Like for me, if I was to make a bunch of money, my luxury, sure, you like a fucking a little bit of fancy eating, whatever.
Yeah.
But I would my luxury would be to alleviate suffering from others. So like it would be like, okay, I could fucking pay for this dude's whatever.
Yeah.
And like he wouldn't be in the shit position he's in for the next few years. Oh fuck. I'd be like, oh, that's better than fucking
That's
driving
awesome.
a Ferrari. You know what I mean? Like the high that you could get, and rich people should think this, but they don't. That kind of thing where you could actually, like, again, I'm not rich, so I don't know that I would be, but I think I would want to fucking, oh, this person's vehicle broke down. I know how to get cheap vehicles. I could find them and give them one. And just be like, hey, now you got a vehicle. Look at that shit,
Yeah,
or whatever.
that's so
and just
awesome.
to see the, but not because it's awesome and not because it's ethical, but because I get a fucking luxury high off of it,
Yeah.
and a better luxury high than me eating lobster every day or me fucking like driving a Ferrari. It's one of those things where
that's so awesome, bro.
but again, it's not to be good or be like nice. It's to be like, I've seen people stuck in shit situations. I've been stuck in shit
Yeah.
situations and been like, man, if there was somebody there who was just like, I get off on helping people,
Yeah.
like, which nobody does, but like it would be a
But
a
I say
cool-
it's awesome because I think that like that.
yeah, it's
So
good shit.
I always thought if I had a fuck ton of money, I would go back to my neighborhood that I grew up in,
Yeah.
set up a shop, and you just fucking come in and show me receipts.
Yeah.
Like, hey man, my mom's fucking 80 years old. We need like $5,000 for a fucking roof.
Right.
Boom.
But here's the thing. I know how to fix a roof for $500.
So that's what I'm saying.
So,
like,
you
that
can do
type
that
of shit.
super-
Like,
but yeah,
have
Yeah.
like
yeah, start a clinic where like retired doctors do shit for free, and be like, "Fuck you, medical system, you're
So,
going out of business now." Like it's
I-
fuck,
And it could be simple,
Yeah.
like hey man, they're about to cut my mother's fucking lights off for like $200.
Right.
Hey man, go turn those lights back on.
Yeah,
I've
or
always
here's-
thought I would do
here's
shit
solar,
like that with
you
my
know, just,
money.
Here's some
You know what
solar
I mean?
panels. Hook
For
this
real,
shit up.
bro.
That kind of shit. Yeah, exactly. And like, but again, not because it'd be the nice thing to do, or I could write it off as a tax thing for charity.
No.
because
Yeah.
it would be cool to fucking see that person be like, I'm not fucked anymore.
Yeah.
Oh fuck, like that's
Yeah.
that kind of thing. So in that sense, but nobody, almost
Someone
nobody
said yes.
right.
No, there was somebody that said yes
Right.
instead of the usual no.
Right, and
Yeah.
and just the crazy shit, but again, also teaching people how to fucking not spend and not be gouged, because in an economy there's all imperfect information. That's like a fun foundation of
But you
economic
can't
theory.
make too much noise.
No, but even there's throughout the whole thing, prices.
you'll go missing.
Yeah, no, that kind of thing. But no, in the economics textbooks, they talk about imperfect information flow. There's nobody knows everything about everything, so that gap in information or knowledge can be exploited.
Yeah.
So if you can figure out how to get people to understand these things, they're less likely to be able to be gouged. So if everybody knew how the home builders were fucking robbing them, they wouldn't be able to do it anymore. And if everybody knew how the fucking car companies were all ripping everybody off,
Well,
they
that's
wouldn't
why
be
I
able to
say
do it
careful
anymore.
with
No,
making
I know.
noise.
No, but that takes a more
Because
of a
Beaton Bowl will put out a hitman
no,
on your
I
ass.
know. That's the kind of thing. No, but in general, if people just knew that shit,
Yeah.
I'm not the guy who's going to be making those videos about that.
No,
but
yeah.
but if everybody just kind of got more knowledgeable about why, especially with the biggest things, like I get it, you fucking like eating ice cream, you buy a fucking thing of ice cream every day, whatever. But that's only like $5, $10, whatever.
Yeah.
It's you splurge on that, but vehicles and homes are the hugest expenses, along with the fucking insurance, medical shit, all that shit.
Yeah.
If people could organize in their communities very cheap alternatives, very free, like I said, there's tons of retired medical professionals that would love to say fuck you to the system and be like, I'm retired, I'll totally work for free, I'll do fucking shit all day long, every day, just to fuck you to the system, you know?
Insurance is such a scam
Yeah,
too.
yeah.
Like,
But imagine everybody, there's clinics, but imagine if there were so many that all the for-profit ones went out of business in every major city. Like, that could be done just from people using their social media to be like, hey, we got free people over here. This guy, every medical professional is over 65 and retired. They're all, they hate the system and they want to fuck it over.
yeah,
You know,
and so the wife, she has like her sciatic nerve is real fucked
Yeah.
off in the back. So we go to chiropractors all
Yeah.
the time. They're like, "Do you have insurance?"
right.
And she's like, "Yeah." I'm like, "Tell them no."
Yeah, it's cheaper.
And
Yeah.
then and then she's like, "Why?" I go, "Why are you paying $50 with insurance and $50 without insurance?"
Right.
Because they're taxing your insurance for extra shit.
Right, they're just, I mean,
And if
they're
you
just
said
taking-
no, you're still paying $50.
Right.
So I'm like, tell them no. Fuck that.
But in general, find people who do it for free or super cheap, like physical therapists even.
Yeah.
Better than chiropractors and like fucking massage therapy or whatever. And for fuck's sake, the medical professionals need to figure out that shit. And Chomsky, of all the political science or political philosopher, Noam Chomsky, he occasionally talks about other shit. And he's like, yeah, we don't know shit about the back because he's like 90. It's like scientists still don't know jack shit about human beings' backs.
Yeah.
And how they work. It's fucking medieval as fuck. So like, and I know why, because why they don't know shit about any of this shit, because I used to be a calculus tutor at college. Like I worked there doing that for a few years in
fuck,
Florida.
for real?
So yeah, so like, but we would see the engineering students come in, we'd see the mathematics students come in, and then we'd see the med students come in, the douchiest, greediest, fucking
Oh, yeah.
corrupt motherfuckers,
Yeah.
just assholes, and they were bold and open about it. Like, I don't give a fuck about helping people. That was like, they would say that. Unprovoked, they would just say that. Yeah, I'm doing this
Wow.
for money. Fuck everybody. That's and now I'm like, shit.
Yeah.
But
And
like,
he's gonna be my heart surgeon.
right. and it was like, oh shit. Like that aspect of things is like, but they didn't have to know a lot of shit. They only had to take Calc 1 or Calc 2 at most. And I'm like, well then, if this person is like the medical professional who's essentially dealing with the science and engineering situation every time they run into someone who has a thing, how are they going to solve that thing? They don't know shit about engineering. They don't know shit about fucking science.
Well, they don't.
They just
solve
memorize
things anyway.
Right, but
just
what I'm
treat
saying
it.
is they should, as part
Yeah.
of, I would argue, if I was in charge of the university system in the United States, I'd say every medical student has to have an undergraduate degree in hard engineering, like aerospace or fucking chemical engineering, mechanical engineering, or electrical engineering, or you don't get your medical degree. Because if you have that shit, or a physics degree, something hard where you have to figure shit out.
Yeah.
So that when you're a doctor, something comes, you're like, oh fuck, I figured it out. I solved. You know,
Yeah.
they're not solving shit
We'd
partly
have
because
6
they don't know
doctors in
shit.
the U.S.
Well,
total.
Right. Well, I mean, that's the problem. There would be no, but you could teach that shit better, so it was less. But my point is that there would be more actual solving of problems instead of just alleviating it with pain pills or whatever. They would figure out how the fuck a sciatic nerve, which physical therapists in the modern era have started to, but it's still early. But all that sort of shit, how the back works, why shit's fucked up. A lot of it is your leg muscles, your hip muscles, your fucking like all these your glute muscles. Like when you build them strong, suddenly the back has a lot less physics pressure because it's a mechanical engineering problem.
Yeah,
of
I've
gravity
been doing
hitting
reading
your body. So it's
on
like
my knee, like it hurting, and a lot of my reading that I'm finding out is I've got something. There's a muscle somewhere that's weak.
Yeah.
In my leg that my knee is like picking up the slack for, and I'm like, it never occurred to me that
Right.
the way I'm walking is a weaker.
and
type of
it
shit.
would have an effect. But yeah, we're like fucking these things with gravity putting pressure on us.
Yeah.
And it's this mechanical system that's going to error in different ways based on how we plant our feet or whatever. But all that shit, my point is that if the doctors were forced to learn about physics and mechanical engineering, they would be able to go, oh, fuck, they would have thought of it a long time ago.
Yeah.
But none of them have to. They just have to memorize a bunch of physiology shit, and that's it.
But you know what's crazy is it's what you're saying.
Yeah.
I totally agree with what you're saying. But a fucking shoe designer
Yeah,
has to have a biomechanics degree.
Yeah, exactly. Same.
And you're like,
because
what the fuck?
but not even that they fucked up. They squished everybody's toes together like this,
Yeah.
you know, like and then which fucked up everybody for a lot, like in a lot of ways. So yeah, that's one of the first. Now they're making fat feet shoes.
Yeah, they're
where you-
figuring it out
where you
now.
can have your feet be spread out so it doesn't get squished together, which fucks up your hips and your back and like all up the chain. You know, so it's but that's the thing. But for every disease, The doctors are encountering these people with different symptoms all the time, and they do not have the skills to solve those things.
Yeah.
To figure it out in real time. They act all high and mighty, and they're fucking, oh, we're smart. No, you just memorized a bunch of flashcards. You didn't fucking really learn how to solve things and figure shit out. And if they were forced to, yeah, I would argue we would have made so many more discoveries already. So yeah. So yeah, university system. No, it's not gonna. But in that sense, like that kind of shit. But yeah, fucking A.
Dude, we got to get you out of here. We're going on 2
Hell
hours
yeah,
now.
hell yeah, dude. I
But
appreciate
I would
it.
love to have you back, bro.
Dude, anytime, man. Fucking
like
A.
we just dipped our toe
Yeah,
in
yeah.
all the shit that I like, man.
All
for
right,
real.
fuck yeah.
I love a deep conversation and
Same.
anything, man.
Same.
So I would love to have you back.
Thanks, man. Fucking A.
Yeah, and once again, promote anything you got going on.
Yeah, just Chris Heist stand up on YouTube. You'll find the channel or
The
whatever.
open mics too.
Yeah. Go to the open mics in Lubbock, Texas. Go to open mics in whatever city you're in. They're there.
But they're what days and where?
Oh, Wednesday at Lantern and Thursday at Bar PM. Wednesday at 9, Thursday at 8. And if you want to sign up, come like a half hour or an hour earlier, and there's a sign up if you want to
Fuck
try
yeah,
it out. And yeah, support comedy, man. And I got a bunch of videos on my YouTube channel, just tons of stuff that is fucked up and boring to most people. But to some people, like really deep shit, they're like, oh fuck. And yeah, it might piss you off too, because it's like some shit is like fucked up.
So before I close out the show, I always ask my guests, man, do you have a final thought?
Shit, I mean, we talked about like 27
Hey,
final
man.
thoughts the whole time.
The floor is yours, man.
No, yeah, I mean, that was it. That last thing we were talking about.
Sweet.
To just, and the other thing, the fucking perceiving a luxury and helping other people, not because it's good, but because you get off on seeing somebody's suffering alleviated.
Yeah.
Like that kind of shit is like, I'm still trying to make the bit about it funny, but the concept of it, I like as a fucking just like a way to fuck the world as it is and make it better. And like, but not in a I'm being good way or whatever. No, I just like it. I like seeing starving people eat. I get a high off of that. Like that kind of shit, the fucking. But yeah. Thanks for having me, man.
Hey,
Fucking A.
Thanks, man. This was fun. So shout out my
Same.
sponsors. Shout out Patriot Painting Construction, Tigre Burrito, KJ Aesthetics, and RL Creations. So until next time, guys, read some books.